The message arrived at 4:41 p.m., sliding across Noah Pierce's screen like a quiet blade. Vivian Hart. Tonight. My house. Dinner. Don't say no. No emoji. No context. Just 4 sentences that carried the weight of a decision already made. Noah stared at them until the letters blurred against the white glow of his monitor. Around him, Harborline Health hummed with its usual late-afternoon rhythm, the soft percussion of keys, the muffled cough of the printer, the distant whir of an espresso machine that always smelled like burnt ambition. He worked in the UX bay, the unflashy corner where prototypes were patched, accessibility audits were performed, and the phrase edge case was treated like a prayer. His job was to make sure people didn't fall through cracks no one else could see. The irony wasn't lost on him. His whole career was built on guarding invisible doors, yet he was the kind of man who tried to live behind one. He reread Vivian's message. Tonight. My house. Dinner. Noah's first instinct was to believe it was a trap, because in corporate life, invitations rarely came without strings. Vivian Hart didn't do casual. She didn't do warm. She didn't do unnecessary. At 33, Vivian ran product like a clean room, sterile, precise, and unforgiving. She walked the halls as if she owned the building's gravity, and people moved around her the way water moved around a stone, quietly, inevitably. She was known for 3 things: her standards, her silence, and her ability to look at a room full of executives and make them feel somehow like they were the interns. Noah had worked under her for 10 months. He had spoken to her hundreds of times, yet he couldn't remember a single conversation that didn't begin with a problem and end with a deadline. Dinner at her house was not a normal sentence. His phone buzzed again. Vivian Hart, 7:30. Address attached. An address dropped beneath the message. A neighborhood up in the hills. The kind of place Noah only saw in real estate fantasies. Clean streets, quiet gates, and houses that looked like their owners had never argued over rent. He swallowed. Across the aisle, a designer named Jules rolled her chair over, chewing the end of a pen. "Pierce," she said, voice low, "you look like you just got subpoenaed." Noah forced a smile. "Just an email." Jules leaned in, the way people do when curiosity starts to itch. "From her?" Noah's eyes flicked to Vivian's glass office at the far end of the floor. The blinds were half drawn, turning her silhouette into something sharp and unreadable. He didn't answer. Jules whistled softly. "If Vivian Hart is inviting you anywhere, it's either a promotion or an execution." Noah tried to laugh. It came out thin. "I'm serious," Jules continued. "She doesn't do after hours, not unless it's significant." Noah looked back at the message, then down at his hands. His nails were trimmed too short, a habit from childhood, a quiet defense against being accused of dirt. "Maybe it's about the hospital demo," he said, more to himself than to Jules. "Or maybe she's human," Jules offered, as if the idea were a conspiracy. Noah didn't reply, because he knew something Jules didn't. He'd seen Vivian once, when she thought no one was watching. It was late, the floor was empty. Noah had stayed to test screen reader flow on a prototype that kept failing at the worst possible moment. He'd gone to refill his water, and in the hallway outside Vivian's office, he'd heard a sound. Not her voice. Not a call. A long exhale. The kind someone makes when they've been holding themselves up with sheer willpower, and the muscles finally tremble. When Noah glanced through the glass, Vivian stood with her back to the room, one hand braced on the desk, the other pressed to her temple. A lone desk lamp lit her like a painting. Her shoulders were rigid, but not from confidence, from strain. In that moment, Noah didn't see a director. He saw a woman wrestling a storm alone. Then she sensed him. She turned. Her expression snapped shut like a vault, and the moment disappeared. Since then, he'd lived with a quiet understanding. Vivian's hardness wasn't cruelty, it was armor. But armor, Noah knew, always meant there had once been an attack. At 6:50 p.m., he shut down his computer and packed his bag. He told himself he was going for professionalism, just dinner with a boss. Yet his body didn't believe him. His stomach was tight. His heart kept changing pace like a nervous drummer. He went home to his small apartment in the Mission District, the kind where the walls were thin enough to hear your neighbor's life choices. He showered. He stared at his closet as if it were a courtroom. Button up, too formal, t-shirt, too casual. He chose a simple charcoal sweater and dark jeans, neutral, safe, invisible. He refused cologne on principle. Smelling like someone else's idea of worth made him uneasy. Before leaving, he paused at the small shelf by his door. A cheap silicone wristband sat there, faded from years of wear. It read in cracked white letters, "Access." Noah picked it up and rolled it between his fingers. It had belonged to Milo first, his little brother, before the world taught Milo how often doors could be closed without anyone touching a lock. Milo had given it to Noah on a day when Noah had failed to protect him from a teacher's impatience. "So you remember," Milo had said, simple and sure. Noah slid the wristband on. Then he grabbed a bottle of decent red wine, decent meaning it wouldn't taste like regret, and drove into the hills. San Francisco changed as he climbed. The streets widened. The noise softened. Houses became quiet monuments with clean lines and curated lights, as if they were trying to convince the night they had nothing to hide. Vivian's address led him to a modern home tucked behind a row of tall hedges. Warm light spilled from the windows. It looked lived in, but carefully, like a place that allowed comfort only if it stayed tidy. Noah parked and walked up the stone path, each step feeling like the last second before an exam. He rang the bell. The door opened almost immediately. Vivian Hart stood there, not in a blazer, not in heels, not in the uniform the office had memorized. She wore a simple black dress, soft at the shoulders, and her hair was down, falling in dark waves that made her look younger in a way that startled him. For a fraction of a second, she didn't speak. Her eyes flicked over him, not appraising, not judging, checking, as if making sure he'd come. "Thanks," she said finally, voice lower than at work. "You made it." Noah lifted the bottle. "I brought wine." Vivian took it like she didn't know what to do with a gesture that wasn't transactional. "Good," she said, too quickly. Then she stepped aside. "Come in." Warmth hit him first. Not just temperature, but scent. Roasted garlic, herbs, something rich and slow cooked. The smell of someone trying too hard to make a moment look effortless. Noah's shoes sank softly into a thick rug. He took 2 steps into the living room and stopped. Because the dining table wasn't set for 2. It was set for 4. White cloth, candles, plates aligned with a precision that made his throat tighten. And at the far end of the table sat a man with silver at his temples, posture straight as a blade. Beside him sat a woman with calm eyes and hands folded like she'd been waiting her whole life to meet someone she'd already decided about. They both looked up at the same time. Vivian's hand slid through Noah's arm, firm, familiar, immediate. Her fingers tightened once, a silent command. Then her voice cut through the room, smooth as polished glass. "Mom, Dad," Vivian said. She turned her face toward them, smile controlled, and spoke the sentence that turned Noah's blood cold. "This is Noah," she said. "My boyfriend." Noah's mind went blank. Not empty, blank. Like a page ripped out before the ink could dry. The woman stood, beaming. "Finally," she breathed, as if she'd been praying for this more than Vivian had been living it. The man didn't stand. He just looked at Noah with the quiet intensity of someone who had spent a lifetime measuring risk. And in the space between candlelight and silence, Noah understood something terrifyingly clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a rescue. And Vivian had chosen him as the rope. And the word boyfriend did not echo. It settled. Like dust after a collapse, it drifted through the room and landed on everything. On the tablecloth, on the candle flames, on Noah's chest, where it pressed until his lungs forgot their rhythm. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the woman, Vivian's mother, rose from her chair with a grace that felt practiced, her smile blooming as if she had been waiting years for this exact moment to arrive properly dressed. "Oh, thank God," she said, crossing the room in 3 soft steps. "I was beginning to think you'd never bring anyone home." She extended her hand. Her grip was warm, confident, not tentative. This was not a woman testing the water. This was a woman welcoming a conclusion. "I'm Elaine," she said, "and this," she glanced back at the table, "is Gordon." Gordon Hart did not stand. He leaned back slightly in his chair, one arm resting on the table, the other folded across his chest. His eyes stayed on Noah, sharp and unblinking, as if Noah were a chart whose margins mattered more than the data. No handshake, no smile, just assessment. "Nice to meet you," Noah said automatically. The words came out clean, trained by years of customer calls and quiet apologies. He shook Elaine's hand and nodded toward Gordon, who acknowledged the gesture with a fractional dip of his chin. Vivian's hand was still looped through Noah's arm. It hadn't loosened. If anything, it had tightened. "Come," Elaine said, already guiding them toward the table. "Sit. We were just waiting." Waiting. The word scraped. Noah let himself be led, his legs moving while his thoughts lagged behind, scrambling to reconstruct a reality where this made sense. The chair Vivian pulled out for him was directly beside hers. No buffer, no polite distance. Her knee brushed his when he sat, not accidentally. This was choreography. Gordon finally spoke. "So," he said, voice low and level. "Noah." It wasn't a question. It was a placement. "Yes, sir," Noah replied, hating the reflex and unable to stop it. Gordon's gaze flicked to the wristband on Noah's arm. Access. Faded, but legible. Something shifted there. Subtle enough that Noah almost missed it. Almost. Elaine poured wine, the liquid glinting in the candlelight. "Vivian tells us you work together." Noah felt Vivian's thumb press lightly into his forearm. Once. A cue. "Yes," he said. "I'm on her product team, UX and accessibility." "Oh, how wonderful," Elaine said. "You must be very patient." Noah smiled politely. "It helps." "And how did you two—" Elaine paused, eyes bright. "Realize it was more?" Vivian answered before Noah could breathe. "Late nights," she said. "Too many deadlines. You see who people really are when the pressure doesn't turn off." She lifted her glass, but her hand trembled just enough for Noah to notice. Gordon did not. Or perhaps he noticed everything. "Pressure reveals character," Gordon said. Or the lack of it. The knife landed without sound. Noah swallowed and reached for his wine, grateful for the excuse to pause. He tasted oak and something bitter beneath it. Aged. Expensive. Elaine waved a hand. "Gordon," she said lightly, "not every conversation has to be an audit." Gordon didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on Noah. Audits keep ships afloat. There it was, the first test. Noah set his glass down carefully. "So do crews," he said. "Even the best captain needs people who notice the leaks." Vivian's knee pressed into his. Quick, sharp. Approval. Or warning. Elaine smiled wider. "I like him already." Dinner was served with the efficiency of someone who had hosted many things and lost control of very few. Roasted chicken, vegetables glazed to perfection, bread still warm enough to steam when torn open. The food was generous. The atmosphere was not. "So," Elaine said halfway through the first course, "how long have you been together?" Vivian answered again. 6 months. Noah didn't flinch. He adjusted. "Just about," he said smoothly. "Feels longer." Vivian turned to him, eyes flicking up in surprise. Then she smiled. Small, real, fleeting. Gordon finally took a bite. He chewed once, twice. "You live nearby?" he asked. "In the Mission," Noah said. "Small place? Rent or own?" "Rent?" Gordon nodded as if confirming a hypothesis. "And your plans?" Noah met his gaze. "Short term or long?" "Both." There it was again. The narrowing. "I plan to do my job well," Noah said. "To keep learning. And to stay where my work matters." Gordon's lips pressed together. "Work always matters. Until it doesn't." Vivian's fork clinked against her plate. Too loud. "Dad," she said. Tone controlled but tight. "This isn't, I'm asking because I care," Gordon said calmly. "About outcomes." Elaine reached over and touched Vivian's arm. "Enough. Eat." They did. Conversation moved in safer circles. Weather, the view, a passing comment about a neighbor's renovation. But beneath it all, tension pulsed like a second heartbeat. Noah noticed things. The way Vivian never leaned back fully in her chair. The way Elaine watched Gordon before speaking, as if gauging the wind. The way Gordon's gaze returned again and again to Noah's hands, steady, unadorned, honest. When dessert was cleared, Elaine rose. "I'll put the kettle on," she said. "Vivian, help me?" Vivian stood, her hand brushed Noah's shoulder, lingering, apologetic. The women disappeared into the kitchen. The room exhaled. Gordon folded his hands on the table. "Walk with me," he said. It wasn't a request. Noah stood. They moved into a study lined with books that hadn't been chosen for decoration. Nautical charts framed the walls. A model ship sat on the desk, every rope precise. Gordon gestured to a chair. Noah sat. "I don't dislike you," Gordon said without preamble. "But liking you is irrelevant." Noah nodded. "My daughter attracts men who want to win her," Gordon continued, "or fix her, or be seen beside her." He leaned forward. "Which one are you?" Noah thought of Milo, of doors, of Vivian's hand tightening at the doorway. "I'm not trying to win anything," he said, "and she doesn't need fixing." Gordon watched him. "Then why are you here?" Noah didn't answer immediately. "Because she asked," he said finally. "And because sometimes people ask when they don't want to be alone." Silence. Gordon leaned back. In the kitchen, a kettle began to whistle. Gordon's eyes softened, just enough to be dangerous. "We'll see," he said. Noah stood, pulse steady, unaware that something irreversible had already begun. Meanwhile, the kettle's whistle followed Noah back down the hallway like a held breath finally released. He stepped out of Gordon Hart's study with his shoulders squared and his thoughts carefully shelved. Whatever verdict had been forming in that room would not be delivered tonight. Gordon was not a man who rushed conclusions. He let them ferment. The kitchen lights were warm, almost forgiving. Elaine stood at the counter arranging teacups with deliberate care, her movements calm in a way that suggested decades of smoothing rough moments without ever acknowledging them. Vivian leaned against the far counter, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the kettle as if it had personally offended her. When she saw Noah, something flickered across her face. Relief, first, then concern. "Everything okay?" she asked, casual enough for her parents to hear, careful enough for Noah to understand the subtext. He nodded once. "We talked." Elaine smiled, pouring hot water. "Gordon talks. It's what he does when he's thinking." Vivian's jaw tightened. "He interrogates." Elaine glanced at her daughter. "He worries." The cups were passed around. Steam curled upward, softening the edges of the room. Noah accepted his tea and wrapped his hands around the mug, letting the heat steady him. Gordon said nothing. He watched. That was worse. They returned to the living room, where the candles had burned low enough to cast longer shadows. Vivian sat beside Noah again, this time close enough that their shoulders touched. Not staged. Instinctive. Noah noticed. So did Gordon. Elaine broke the silence. "Noah, tell me about your family." The question landed gently, but it landed. Noah inhaled. This was the part of the lie that required the most precision. "My parents divorced when I was young," he said. "I have a younger brother, Milo." Elaine's eyes softened. "Is he nearby?" "He lives with support housing now," Noah said. "He's autistic, brilliant with patterns, terrible with crowds." Vivian turned toward him fully. "You never told me that." Noah shrugged. "It doesn't usually come up in sprint reviews." Elaine smiled faintly. "You helped take care of him?" "I did," Noah said. "For a long time." Gordon's gaze sharpened, not skeptical now, but focused. "And now?" Gordon asked. "No one ever really stops," Noah replied. "You just change how you show up." The words seemed to lodge somewhere in the room. Elaine set her cup down. "That must have required sacrifices." Noah thought of missed opportunities, of jobs he hadn't taken because they were too far, of nights spent calming storms no one else could hear. "Yes," he said simply. Vivian watched him like she was seeing a different version than the one she worked beside every day, one with depth she hadn't been allowed to assume. Gordon finally spoke. "And your ambitions?" There it was again. Noah met his eyes. "To build things that don't exclude people." Gordon raised a brow. "That's idealistic." "No," Noah said quietly. "It's practical. Exclusion is expensive. People just don't measure the cost until it breaks something they care about." Vivian let out a slow breath. Elaine smiled at Noah the way people do when they recognize something familiar in a stranger. You're not what I expected. Noah hesitated. Neither is this evening. A beat. Then Vivian laughed. Not loud. Not defensive. Real. Elaine chuckled. Fair. Gordon stood. Vivian, he said. A word. Vivian froze. She rose slowly, eyes flicking to Noah for a fraction of a second, long enough for him to see the uncertainty she hid from everyone else. I'll be right back, she said. Father and daughter moved toward the hallway, their voices low but tense enough to leak through the thin air. You can't keep doing this, Gordon said. I didn't ask for this conversation tonight, Vivian replied. You engineered it. I survived it. You used him. He agreed. You cornered him. I needed space to breathe. Elaine winced. Noah stared into his tea, the liquid trembling slightly from his pulse. The voices dropped further, but fragments slipped through. Caleb is stable. I don't want stable. I want honest. You don't get to choose chaos? You don't get to choose my life. The argument ended not with resolution, but with exhaustion. Vivian returned first. Her face was composed. Her eyes were not. Gordon followed, jaw set. Elaine rose immediately. Dessert, she announced, as if sugar could repair fractures. I'll get the pie. But Vivian shook her head. We should go, she said. Elaine paused. It's late. Vivian looked at Noah. It's late. He stood without hesitation. Elaine's disappointment flickered, then softened into understanding. She hugged Vivian tightly. Be careful, she whispered. She turned to Noah and surprised him by pulling him into a brief, warm embrace. Thank you, she said quietly, for coming. Gordon stopped Noah at the door. Walk with me, he said again. This time, it was quieter. They stepped onto the porch. The night air was cool, carrying the distant hush of the city below. Gordon rested his hands on the railing. You understand what you stepped into tonight? Noah nodded. More than I did when I rang the bell. Gordon exhaled. Vivian doesn't ask for help easily. I noticed. She attracts pressure, Gordon said, from men who want control, from systems that reward endurance over balance. Noah said nothing. Gordon turned to him. If you're temporary, leave now. Noah met his gaze. And if I'm not? Then be prepared, Gordon said, because this won't stay contained. Noah thought of the office, of policies, of whispers. I don't run, he said. Gordon studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Not approval, not rejection, acknowledgement. Vivian stood by the door, arms wrapped around herself. As Noah stepped beside her, she spoke softly, just for him. I'm sorry, she said. I shouldn't have. It's done, Noah replied. But we should talk. She nodded. Tomorrow. They walked to his car in silence, the house glowing behind them like a chapter already closing. Noah started the engine. Vivian hesitated. Noah, you don't have to keep pretending. He looked at her. I'm not pretending anymore, he said. She swallowed. And somewhere between the driveway and the dark road ahead, the lie they'd built began to change shape, until... By Monday morning, the lie had already outgrown its frame. Noah felt it before he saw it, in the way conversations dimmed as he passed, in the way the office air seemed to tighten around his name. Harborline Health woke up early on Mondays, and so did speculation. It traveled faster than emails, quieter than meetings, and left no paper trail. He arrived at 8:07 a.m., coffee in hand, access band snug against his wrist. The UX bay was half full, screens glowing with half-built worlds. Jules waved him over with 2 fingers and a raised brow. Okay, she said. You're either sleeping very well or very badly. Noah sat. Why? She leaned closer. Because Vivian Hart just walked in with a smile. Noah looked up. Vivian crossed the floor with her usual economy of motion, head high, pace measured. But something was different. The smile wasn't sharp, it wasn't armor, it was settled. She didn't look at Noah's desk. She didn't need to. The shift had already been registered. By 9:00 a.m., the first email landed. From People Operations, subject, reminder, professional boundaries and reporting structures. No names, no accusations, just a clean, sterile reminder of policy, how relationships within direct reporting lines required disclosure, how conflicts of interest would be evaluated, how integrity mattered. Jules read it, then glanced at Noah. "Well," she murmured, "that's subtle." Noah closed the message without replying. At 9:14, Vivian appeared beside his desk. "Conference room B," she said. 10 minutes. Her tone was neutral. Her eyes were not. Inside the room, glass walls held their reflections like witnesses. Vivian closed the door and leaned against the table, crossing her arms, not defensively, but to hold herself together. "I didn't think it would move this fast," she said. Noah nodded. "It always does." She studied him. "You've done this before." "Not this," Noah said, "but I've watched systems protect themselves." Vivian exhaled through her nose. "HR wants a disclosure." Noah didn't flinch. "And you?" "I want to protect you," she said immediately. Too immediately. He tilted his head. "At what cost?" Vivian's jaw tightened. "I can move you off my reporting line. Temporarily. Put you under Marcus for the next quarter." Marcus. Middle management. Slow decisions. Dead ends. "That would stall the hospital project," Noah said. "It would protect you," Vivian countered. "No," he said gently. "It would protect you from a headline." She closed her eyes. This was the moment where lies usually collapsed, under the weight of convenience. "Vivian," Noah said quietly, "we said no collateral damage." She opened her eyes. "We said no emotions." "Same thing," he replied. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Vivian straightened. "I won't move you," she said. "Not without your consent." Noah let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Thank you." She nodded once. "But we have to be careful." He gave a faint smile. "We already aren't." The rest of the day moved like a test of restraint. Vivian kept distance in meetings. Noah spoke only when necessary. They performed professionalism so precisely it almost hurt. Almost. At lunch, Noah ate alone. He didn't mind. He used the time to run accessibility tests on the hospital prototype, a product meant to track patient intake across departments. It worked beautifully for most users. For most. At 1:37 p.m., Noah found it. A failure point buried in a modal interaction. Screen readers couldn't parse the confirmation state. For a blind user, the system would feel like it froze. Data would be lost. In a hospital, that kind of delay wasn't inconvenience. It was danger. Noah flagged it and ran simulations. The fix wasn't simple. It required redefining a success state that leadership had already approved. At 3:12, he knocked on Vivian's office door. She waved him in. He didn't sit. "There's a problem," he said, pulling up his screen. "Accessibility failure. Critical." Vivian's eyes narrowed, not in annoyance, but focus. "Show me." As he walked her through the issue, something electric returned to the room. This was their shared language. This was truth. "This will delay the demo," she said. "Yes." "And upset the board." "Yes." Vivian leaned back. "Then we fix it anyway." Noah blinked. I'm not risking a patient because of optics," she said. "Not today." Relief surged through him, sharp and unexpected. "Thank you," he said again. She held his gaze. "Don't make me regret it." By 6:40 p.m., the office thinned. Vivian stayed. Noah stayed. They worked side by side, sleeves rolled, words sparse but aligned. Midnight crept in unnoticed. At 12:08 a.m., Vivian stretched and glanced at him. "You hungry?" "No," he said. Then, after a beat, "Yes." She smiled, soft, unguarded. "There's a taco truck down the street." They ate standing on the sidewalk, aluminum foil crinkling between them, city lights blinking like tired stars. "This wasn't how I planned things," Vivian said. "It never is," Noah replied. She hesitated. "You can still walk away." He shook his head. "Not like that." "Why?" she asked. He thought of Gordon's study, of Milo, of doors. "Because you didn't ask me to pretend," he said. "You asked me to show up." Vivian looked at him like the words had landed somewhere dangerous. Across the street, someone laughed. A bus hissed past. The lie between them shifted again. Not shrinking, not breaking. Learning, breathing. By Tuesday, the project had a name. Not an official one, those came later, approved and sanitized, but a whispered one that moved through the halls with the gravity of a dare. The hospital fix. People said it like you might say storm warning. Noah felt the weight of it the moment he sat down. The ticket queue was already swelling. Engineering wanted clarity. Design wanted constraints. Legal wanted guarantees no one could honestly give. And hovering above it all was the calendar. 9 days until the demo. 9 days until Harborline Health stood in front of a hospital consortium that could make or break the company's next 3 years. At 8:22 a.m., Vivian called an emergency stand-up. She didn't preface it with humor. She didn't soften the edges. "There's a critical accessibility flaw," she said, hands braced on the conference table. "We're fixing it." A murmur rippled. Mark, senior designer, frowned. "That scope was locked weeks ago." "It was locked incorrectly," Vivian replied. Sarah crossed her arms. "This pushes us past design freeze?" "Yes," Vivian said, "and forward ethically." The room stilled. Noah watched faces change, not into resistance exactly, but calculation. Everyone understood what was at stake. Accessibility wasn't just a feature, it was a liability shield, a moral stance, a budget line no one wanted to own when timelines got tight. "Who caught it?" someone asked. Vivian didn't look at Noah. She didn't need to. "Our team did," she said, "and our team will fix it." The meeting adjourned with tension still humming in the air. At Noah's desk, his inbox filled with quiet questions. "Can you show me the failure state? Is there a workaround that doesn't change the core flow? How bad is it really?" He answered all of them, patiently, precisely. By noon, the first resistance hardened. A calendar invite appeared from Caleb Shaw. Subject: Quick Sync, Compliance and Risk. Time: 1:30 p.m. Noah stared at the name. Caleb Shaw was a ghost most days. External counsel tied to an investment group with fingers in too many things to track. He showed up when decisions needed legal armor or plausible deniability. He didn't show up for courtesy. At 1:29, Noah walked into conference room D. Caleb stood already, suit immaculate, smile calibrated. Early 30s, confident. The kind of man who looked like he'd been chosen more often than he'd chosen. "Noah," Caleb said, extending a hand. "Good to finally meet." Noah shook it. "You too." They sat. "I'll be direct," Caleb said. "This accessibility change, ambitious, admirable, risky." "Risky how?" Noah asked. Caleb folded his hands. "Delays invite scrutiny. Scrutiny invites questions. Questions invite complications." Noah nodded. "Patience invite responsibility." Caleb smiled thinly. "That's a lovely sentence, not a legal strategy." "No," Noah said. "It's a design principle." Caleb leaned back. "You're talented. Your work on the fix is impressive. That's why I wanted to talk." Noah waited. "There are other teams," Caleb continued. "Other companies. Ones that move faster, pay better, don't punish initiative with politics." The pitch slid across the table, smooth and practiced. "You're offering me an exit," Noah said. "I'm offering you options," Caleb corrected. "Before you get caught in someone else's storm." Noah thought of Vivian, of her choosing the fix without blinking. "No," he said. Caleb's smile didn't fade, but something cooled. "Think about it," he said. "People like you get used up." After the meeting, Noah didn't go back to his desk. He went to Vivian's office. She looked up as he entered, already reading his face. "Caleb?" she asked. He nodded. "He's circling." Vivian's mouth tightened. "He always does when control's threatened." "He offered me a job," Noah said. She froze, just for a breath. "And?" she asked carefully. "I said no." She studied him. "You didn't have to decide that fast." "I did," Noah said. Vivian looked down at her hands, then back up. "This project is going to get uglier." "I know." She hesitated. "You can still walk away." He smiled faintly. "You keep offering that." I keep meaning it. So do I, he said. They worked late again, and late became later. By Wednesday night, the fix had a prototype. By Thursday, it had data. By Friday morning, it had opposition. An internal review flagged the change as non-essential. Vivian overrode it. An executive pinged about scope creep. Vivian replied with numbers, error reduction, time saved, risk mitigated. HR sent a follow-up email. Subject, disclosure reminder, final notice. Noah didn't receive it directly. Vivian did. She read it twice, then stood and walked to his desk. We need to talk, she said. They didn't go to a conference room this time. They went outside, onto the narrow balcony overlooking the parking lot where the air smelled faintly of asphalt and eucalyptus. They're forcing my hand, Vivian said. If we don't disclose or restructure, they'll do it for us. Noah leaned on the railing. What does that mean? It means, she said slowly, I either move you off the project or I go on record. And going on record means everything, Vivian finished. Us, the dinner, the assumption. Noah turned to her. Are you scared of the truth or the timing? Vivian didn't answer right away. Below them, someone laughed near a car. Life continued, indifferent. I've spent my entire career being careful, she said finally. Perfect resumes, perfect optics, no mess. And now? Noah asked. And now, she said, voice quiet, I'm tired of being managed by people who don't build anything. He watched her, really watched her. You don't have to protect me, he said. She looked at him sharply. I'm not. No, he said gently. You're protecting the wrong version of yourself. Vivian closed her eyes. I don't want you to be collateral, she said. I won't be, Noah replied. Not if we do this right. She laughed softly, without humor. You keep saying that. Because it's still true, he said. That night, Noah stayed late alone. He reran tests, logged results, documented everything with a care that bordered on reverence. At 11:47 p.m., he sent Vivian a message. The fix works. No edge failures. Ready for demo. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Thank you, she replied. Then, I'm proud of you. Noah stared at the words longer than necessary. Outside, the city breathed. Inside, the cost of doing the right thing was coming due. Therefore, the word stability arrived dressed as concern. It showed up in meetings as a suggestion, in emails as a footnote, in conversations as a warning disguised as wisdom. It followed Noah through the halls of Harborline Health like a shadow that insisted it was helping him stay upright. By Monday morning, the demo countdown had slipped into single digits. 7 days. The fix had passed internal testing. The numbers were clean. The simulations held. On paper, the project was stronger than it had ever been. In reality, the room had grown colder. Noah noticed it in small ways. Slack replies that took longer. Calendar invites that arrived without agendas. Conversations that paused when he approached, then resumed once he passed. At 10:02 a.m., Vivian called him into her office. She didn't sit behind the desk. She stood by the window, arms folded, looking out at the bay where fog drifted in low, deliberate sheets. The city beyond looked distant, blurred, like a future that hadn't decided whether to come closer. They're scheduling a pre-demo risk review, she said. Noah leaned against the chair. That's not standard. No, Vivian agreed. It's strategic. Who requested it? Vivian didn't answer immediately. Caleb, she said finally. And my father. Noah felt the name before he processed it. Gordon? She nodded. He's been advising the investment side, quietly, until now. Noah exhaled. That explains the timing. Vivian turned to him. He wants to meet you again. Noah raised a brow. At the office? At home, she said. Dinner. Just us. Noah almost laughed. Almost. He's framing it as concern, Vivian added. About optics. About long-term alignment. About stability, Noah said. Vivian met his gaze. Yes. That evening, Noah drove back into the hills. The house looked the same. Warm lights, clean lines, but the air felt heavier, like something had already been decided and was simply waiting to be announced. Gordon greeted him at the door this time, no pleasantries, no delay. "Come in," he said. Elaine wasn't home. The absence was intentional. They sat in the study again, the room unchanged. Charts, books, the model ship resting in perfect order. Gordon poured 2 glasses of whiskey without asking. "I won't insult you with small talk," Gordon said, handing Noah a glass. "You don't strike me as someone who mistakes politeness for honesty." Noah accepted the drink but didn't sip. "I appreciate that." Gordon sat. "You're talented, you're principled, you're inconvenient." Noah waited. "My daughter's career is reaching a hinge point," Gordon continued. "The kind that determines trajectory, reputation, access." "I know," Noah said. "And right now," Gordon said, "you represent uncertainty." Noah set the glass down untouched. "Or integrity." Gordon smiled thinly. "Those are not mutually exclusive, but they are not equally valued." Noah leaned forward. "You're worried she'll choose wrong." "I'm worried she'll choose emotionally," Gordon corrected. "I've seen where that leads." Noah thought of the photos with the cutout frame. "You think I'm a phase," Noah said. "I think you're a variable," Gordon replied, "and variables can be eliminated." The words sat between them, cold and precise. "I'm offering you a path," Gordon said, "one that preserves everyone's momentum." Noah looked up. "Which is?" "You leave Harborline after the demo," Gordon said, quietly, cleanly. "I'll ensure you land somewhere better, higher compensation, clear advancement, no rumors, no HR inquiries." "And Vivian?" Noah asked. "She continues without distraction," Gordon said. "Unburdened." Noah laughed softly. "You think that would unburden her?" Gordon's eyes hardened. "I think it would save her from repeating mistakes." Noah stood. "I'm not a mistake," he said evenly, "and neither is caring about the people your systems forget." Gordon rose as well. "You're young. You think conviction is enough." "No," Noah said. "I think showing up is." Silence fell. "You're willing to risk her position," Gordon said, "for an idea." "For people," Noah corrected. Gordon studied him for a long time. Then he spoke quietly. "You remind me of someone," he said. Noah didn't ask who. "I didn't protect him," Gordon continued. "I protected the plan. And I lost him anyway." The admission cracked something in the room, not wide but deep. "I won't force you," Gordon said at last, "but understand this. If you stay, you will be tested, publicly, privately, repeatedly." Noah nodded. "I already am." When he returned to the living room, Vivian stood by the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. "Well?" she asked. "He offered me stability," Noah said. She scoffed. "That word again." "I declined," Noah added. Vivian's breath caught. "You shouldn't have decided alone," she said. "I didn't," Noah replied. "I decided with clarity." She looked at him like she wanted to argue, and then like she didn't know how. "I don't want you to sacrifice your future," she said quietly. "I'm not," Noah replied. "I'm choosing it." Back at the office, the review came fast. Bill. The pre-demo panel filled the conference room, legal, compliance, investment observers. Caleb sat near the head of the table, expression neutral, pen poised. Vivian presented first, calm, data-driven, unapologetic. Then Noah stood. He didn't embellish. He didn't perform. He showed them what failed. He showed them why it mattered. He showed them how the fix worked. 5 minutes in, someone interrupted. "This goes beyond scope," a compliance officer said. "No," Noah replied. "It goes beyond convenience." The room stilled. Afterward, Caleb pulled him aside. "You're making enemies," Caleb said mildly. "I'm making the product better," Noah replied. Caleb sighed. "Those aren't always the same thing." That night, Vivian found Noah still at his desk. "They're moving the demo review earlier," she said. "They want answers now." Noah looked up, tired but steady. "Then we give them truth." Vivian hesitated. "If this goes wrong..." Noah stood. "Then we go down standing." She studied him, eyes shining with something dangerous and real. No more pretending, she said. No more pretending, he agreed. Outside, the fog rolled in thicker than before, swallowing the edges of the city. And somewhere between pressure and resolve, the line between risk and purpose vanished. The boardroom on the 14th floor had a view designed to reassure people who feared uncertainty. Glass from wall to wall, the bay spread out below like a promise, light calibrated to flatter faces and mute shadows. Even the chairs were engineered to suggest comfort without indulgence. It was where Harbor Line Health made its most careful decisions. It was also where inconvenient people learned how replaceable they were. The pre-demo review was scheduled for 90 minutes. By minute 3, Noah knew the outcome would not be decided by time. Vivian stood at the head of the table, tablet in hand, posture straight, voice calm. She didn't rush. She didn't defend preemptively. She presented facts the way she always did. Clean, linear, impossible to misunderstand. This revision reduces intake error by 27%, she said. For visually impaired users, completion time improves by 41%. No regression across other user groups. A compliance officer nodded. A legal consultant scribbled notes. Caleb Shaw watched without writing anything. When Vivian finished, the room went quiet, not impressed, not hostile. Evaluating. "Thank you," said a man Noah recognized from finance. "Before we proceed, there's a procedural concern." Here it came. "Given the recent reminders from People Operations," the man continued, "we need to ensure there's no conflict influencing these design decisions." Vivian didn't blink. "There isn't." Caleb leaned forward slightly. "With respect," he said, voice smooth, "perception matters as much as reality." Noah felt Vivian's attention flick toward him, brief, steady, grounding. "We're not discussing perception," she said. "We're discussing outcomes." A murmur rippled. The compliance officer cleared her throat. "We'll need to hear from the contributor who identified the issue." All eyes turned. Noah stood. The chair legs scraped louder than they should have. He walked to the screen with a calm he hadn't practiced. He'd learned it long ago, when chaos made noise and steadiness had to be quiet to survive. "My role was to test accessibility flow," he began. "I didn't change the scope. I discovered a failure state." He clicked to the first slide. "This is the modal as approved," he said. "For screen readers, the success state isn't announced. Users think the system froze. In a hospital, that means data loss." A board member frowned. "Why wasn't this caught earlier?" "Because it wasn't measured," Noah replied. "We assumed compliance without verifying experience." Caleb interjected gently. "Which is precisely why last-minute changes introduce risk." Noah turned to him. "Risk exists whether you look at it or not." A pause. Noah continued. He showed them the video. No sound, just the interface from the perspective of a blind user. The cursor stalled. The screen stayed silent. Then he played the fixed version. The confirmation chimed. The process flowed. The difference was undeniable. "This isn't innovation for innovation's sake," Noah said. "It's correction." Silence settled again. A woman near the end of the table spoke. "If we approve this, can you guarantee no delay to the demo?" Noah met her eyes. "I can guarantee no preventable harm." Not the answer they wanted, the answer they needed. Vivian stepped in. "We're prepared to proceed," she said. "With or without unanimous comfort." Caleb smiled faintly. "Bold." "Responsible," Vivian replied. The vote was not dramatic. It rarely was. 3 in favor, 2 hesitant, 1 abstention, approved. The fix would go forward. But as the room emptied, the cost arrived on quiet feet. "Vivian," the finance lead said, lingering, "HR will want a formal review." "I expect they will," she replied. "And Noah," he turned, "your presence in the demo room may complicate things." Noah nodded. "Understood." Outside the boardroom, the hallway buzzed with restrained aftermath. Phones vibrated, doors closed. Decisions echoed without sound. Caleb caught up to Noah near the elevators. "You won today," he said. "That doesn't mean you've won." Noah pressed the call button. "It means the product did." Caleb's smile thinned. You're forcing a reckoning. No, Noah said. I'm participating in one. The elevator arrived. Vivian waited until the doors closed before she spoke. They'll try to sideline you during the demo, she said. They already did, Noah replied. Verbally. She looked at him. I won't allow it. He shook his head. You shouldn't have to fight this alone. I'm not, she said, then hesitated. But I might have to choose. The word lingered between them. Between what? Noah asked. Between protecting you, she said softly, and changing the system that thinks it gets to decide who's acceptable. Noah met her gaze. Choose the system. She frowned. That could cost you. He smiled, small and steady. I know. That evening, Noah didn't stay late. He went home and sat on the edge of his bed, phone in his hands, the access band warm against his wrist. He thought of Milo, of Gordon, of doors that only opened if you pushed when others pulled back. At 9:18 p.m., his phone buzzed. Vivian, they're moving the demo to Friday. Full audience. No buffer. Noah typed back. Then we're ready. 3 dots appeared. Are you sure? He didn't hesitate. Yes. Outside, the city shifted. The fog lifted just enough to reveal the water again, dark, patient, reflecting what light it was given. Friday would not be a presentation. It would be a line drawn. And when? Friday arrived without ceremony. No sunrise revelation, no dramatic weather, just a clean, indifferent morning that treated what was coming like any other workday. Noah took that as a warning. The most consequential moments rarely announce themselves. They waited for you to step into them without armor. By 8:30 a.m., the building felt different. Security badges beeped more often. Voices carried farther. The elevators opened to unfamiliar faces, consultants, hospital administrators, legal observers. The demo had grown teeth. Noah stood in the back of the presentation room, laptop closed, hands steady. Vivian moved at the front with practiced ease, greeting people by name, acknowledging nods that carried weight. She didn't look at him until the last minute. When she did, it was only a glance, but it anchored him. The room filled. Caleb took a seat near the aisle, angled for visibility. Gordon arrived quietly and stood along the wall, hands folded behind his back, eyes already scanning. He did not sit. Vivian began. She didn't oversell. She didn't hedge. She framed the product as a tool built for reality, not for ideal users imagined in clean rooms. The hospital team listened with polite attention. The investors watched for inflection points. The first demo sequence played. It was solid, familiar, safe. Then came the pause. Vivian inhaled. Before we conclude, she said, we want to show you something that didn't make it into the original scope, but should have. A ripple of interest. A few glances exchanged. This is the accessibility revision, Vivian continued. Identified during late-stage testing, implemented with measurable outcomes. She turned. Noah. Every sound in the room sharpened. Noah stepped forward. 5 minutes. That was all he'd been given. He didn't open with justification. He didn't apologize for timing. He didn't introduce himself beyond a name and a role. This, he said, bringing up the first screen, is what a visually impaired intake nurse experienced with our original build. The video played. Silence. The cursor hesitated. The screen reader failed to announce completion. The task stalled. A hospital administrator leaned forward. This, Noah said, switching screens, is the same flow after the fix. The chime sounded. The confirmation was clear. The task completed without friction. This isn't a feature, Noah said. It's a correction, and it reduces error under pressure. He clicked again. Data this time. Time saved. Errors reduced. Risk mitigated. No embellishment. No flourish. Truth aligned. A hand rose. What about implementation risk? A compliance officer asked. Late changes can destabilize systems. Noah nodded. We tested rollback scenarios. There's no regression, only improvement. Another hand. Cost? Minimal, Noah replied. The expense was time, which we already spent. Caleb spoke from his seat. And precedent? Do we now reopen scope whenever someone finds an edge case? Noah met his gaze. Only when the edge case is a person. A murmur moved through the room. Noah glanced at the timer on the screen. 30 seconds left. This product will be used when people are tired, rushed, and afraid, he said. If it fails, then it fails where it matters most. The timer blinked red. Noah closed the laptop. He didn't wait for permission to stop. The room exhaled. Questions followed, short, pointed, technical. Noah answered each with the same clarity he'd brought to the build. When it ended, it didn't end with applause. It ended with agreement. The hospital lead stood. We'll proceed with this version, she said. This aligns with our mandate. A few heads nodded. Pens moved. Caleb said nothing. Vivian took over, closing the session with calm finality. When the room began to clear, the shift was palpable. Not celebration, but acceptance. The kind that changed trajectories without raising voices. Outside the room, HR waited. Not immediately. They were never immediate. They asked Vivian for a word, then Noah, separately. The meeting with Noah was brief, professional, polite. They thanked him for his contribution. They reminded him of policy. They asked him to document his involvement for transparency. No accusations, no conclusions. Yet. When Noah stepped back into the hall, Vivian was waiting. They're opening a formal review, she said quietly. Not disciplinary, structural. Noah nodded. That's progress. She studied his face. You're okay? I'm steady, he said. Are you? Vivian glanced toward the boardroom doors, then back at him. I'm deciding. Later that afternoon, an email went out company-wide. Subject: Accessibility Standards and Reporting Alignment. It announced a task force, new guidelines, a review of reporting structures to prevent bias, real or perceived. It read like policy. It was something else. Gordon found Noah near the elevators as people filtered out. You did well, he said. No qualifiers, no conditions. Thank you, Noah replied. Gordon hesitated. You didn't bend. No, Noah said. Gordon nodded once. Good. Vivian joined them. The three stood in a brief, strange triangle, past, present, and consequence. I'm making a proposal, Vivian said, voice firm. To the executive committee. Gordon raised a brow. About? Separating product oversight from direct reporting, she said. Across the board, not just us. Caleb appeared at the edge of the group. That will ruffle feathers. Vivian met his gaze. Feathers grow back. Integrity doesn't. Caleb smiled thinly. You're changing the game. No, Vivian said. I'm changing the rules. That night, Noah went home and sat in the quiet of his apartment. He replayed the day, not for triumph, but for truth. Nothing he'd said could be taken back. Nothing he'd done could be reframed as accidental. At 10:11 p.m., his phone buzzed. Vivian. I filed the proposal. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Whatever happens next. Thank you. Noah typed back. We chose the hard thing. Outside, the fog lifted just enough to show the water again, dark and reflective, holding the city's lights without judgment. The review would take weeks, the consequences, longer, but the line had been drawn. The review did not arrive like a storm. It came like paperwork, forms, calendars, neutral language that pretended this was routine, that nothing personal had already happened, that nothing personal was still unfolding in every corner of the building. For 3 weeks, Harborline Health operated inside a parenthesis. Noah continued working. Vivian continued leading. Meetings went on, products shipped, emails stacked into threads that tried very hard to sound normal. But the air had changed. Noah felt it most in the pauses, those extra seconds before someone answered him, the way people recalculated before saying his name. Not hostile, careful, as if the room were learning a new geometry. The review committee interviewed him on a Wednesday afternoon. 2 people from HR, 1 from compliance, 1 external advisor whose job was to listen without reacting. They asked about timelines, decision paths, influence. They asked when the relationship had begun. Noah answered precisely. After the dinner, he said, before anything changed at work. They asked whether he believed Vivian's support of the accessibility fix had been influenced by personal feelings. Noah didn't rush this one. No, he said. It was influenced by data. The fact that she trusted me enough to listen. That came later. They wrote that down. Vivian's interview happened the next day. She didn't tell Noah how it went. He didn't ask. They had learned, quietly, not to manage each other's fear. Instead, they met that night at her house. Not for dinner. For honesty. The place felt different without the table set for display, without candles performing a role. The kitchen lights were bright, practical. 2 plates sat in the sink. Shoes by the door, not arranged. Vivian leaned against the counter, arms folded, watching Noah as he set his jacket down. They asked me if I used you, she said. Noah nodded. They asked me if I benefited. And? She asked. And I said yes, Noah replied. I benefited from being trusted. Vivian exhaled slowly. I told them the truth. He waited. I told them I asked you to dinner knowing my parents would be there, she continued. I told them I put you in an impossible position. I told them I don't regret it, but I own it. Noah met her eyes. That wasn't easy. No, she said, but it was clean. Silence settled. Not awkward, not heavy. Necessary. I've spent my life staying inside lines other people drew, Vivian said quietly. Tonight, I realized I don't remember who I was before that. Noah stepped closer. Who are you now? She smiled faintly. Someone who finally understands the difference between control and care. They didn't touch. Not yet. The next week brought a decision. Not public, not dramatic. An email marked confidential landed in Vivian's inbox first, then Noah's. Outcome: no policy violations substantiated. Reporting structure to be redefined. New safeguards to be implemented company-wide. Immediate separation of direct oversight between involved parties. No reprimands, no exile, just change. Vivian was reassigned to oversee product strategy across divisions. Broader scope, less direct management. Noah was placed under a new lead for day-to-day reporting, with expanded authority over accessibility standards. They had solved the problem by widening the system. Vivian read the email twice. Then she closed her laptop and laughed, a short, incredulous sound that cracked into something softer. They didn't punish us, she said. They adapted, Noah smiled. You forced them to. They forced themselves, she corrected. You just made it impossible not to see. That night, they walked through the city without a plan. No urgency, no hiding, just movement. They stopped at a small park overlooking the bay. The light shimmered across the water, steady and patient. Vivian sat on the bench and looked out. My father called. Noah didn't react. And? He said he watched the review process closely, she said. He said he underestimated what it costs to stay. Noah nodded. Did he apologize? No, she said. He acknowledged. That's big for him, Noah replied. She smiled. It is. She turned toward him. I don't want this to be something we survive. Noah met her gaze. What do you want it to be? Something we choose, she said. Without cover stories. Without shields. He took her hand then, finally. Simply. No urgency. No fear. I'm choosing, he said. Weeks passed. The office recalibrated. New policies rolled out. Workshops. Language shifted. People learned how to talk about fairness without whispering. Noah noticed younger designers asking better questions. He noticed meetings where accessibility wasn't an afterthought. He noticed his name being used without qualifiers. Vivian moved into her new role with a steadiness that surprised even her. Less reactive, more decisive. She no longer felt like she was defending her right to exist in the room. One evening, after a long day, she found Noah still at his desk. You don't have to stay late anymore, she said. I know, he replied. I'm not staying late, I'm staying present. She laughed and pulled up a chair beside him. They worked in companionable silence until the building emptied. As they left, Vivian paused at the door. There's one more thing, she said. He waited. I told them, she continued, that if they'd forced a choice between my position and my integrity, I would have chosen integrity. Noah's chest tightened. That could have cost you everything. She shook her head. No, it would have clarified everything. She looked at him, eyes steady. I didn't choose you because you were safe, she said. I chose you because you stayed. Noah squeezed her hand. Then stay with me, he said. She smiled, not guarded, not careful. Yes, she said. Outside, the night was clear. The fog had lifted entirely, revealing the city in full, imperfect, luminous, real. They walked on, unhidden now, carrying a truth that no longer needed permission. Change did not arrive with applause. It arrived with quiet habits rewritten. New templates replaced old ones. Meeting agendas gained an extra line, accessibility considerations. Reporting charts shifted, not dramatically but decisively, like furniture moved just enough to make a room breathe differently. Harborline Health did not announce a revolution. It implemented one. Noah noticed first in the smallest places. A junior designer stopped by his desk, not to ask permission, but to ask why. A product manager looped him into a conversation before finalizing scope. An engineer flagged a potential failure state without waiting to be told. People were learning to look where they hadn't before, and when Noah spoke, no one prefaced it with just. Vivian's new role took shape like a widening horizon. Product strategy director. No single team, no narrow lane. She traveled between divisions now, asking hard questions early, insisting on clarity before comfort. Where she went, standards followed, not because she demanded them, but because she modeled them. They didn't hide anymore. They didn't announce anything either. It wasn't necessary. By the time the company hosted its quarterly town hall, the room already knew. Vivian stood on the small stage, microphone steady in her hand, the bay behind her catching light like a held mirror. We build for reality, she said, which means we build for people as they are, not as we wish they'd be. Applause rose, not roaring, but sincere. She scanned the room and met Noah's eyes once. No performance, just recognition. Later that evening, as the office emptied into laughter and goodbyes, Gordon Hart arrived without ceremony. No suit jacket, no agenda. He found Noah near the windows, watching the city settle into night. You didn't make it easy, Gordon said. Noah smiled faintly. Neither did you. Gordon nodded. Fair. They stood together for a moment, two men bound not by agreement, but by a shared respect for what endurance costs. I used to believe stability meant control, Gordon said. That if you planned carefully enough, nothing important would break. And now? Noah asked. And now I know it means knowing what you won't compromise, Gordon replied, even when it's inconvenient. He paused. Especially then. Vivian joined them, slipping her hand into Noah's without thinking. Gordon watched the gesture, not with suspicion, not with test, but with something that finally resembled peace. I won't pretend I understand everything you changed, Gordon said to Vivian, but I see what it preserved. She smiled. That's enough. Gordon nodded once, then with the smallest of smiles, he stepped back and let them be. Life settled, not into perfection, but into rhythm. Noah moved apartments, not because he needed more space, but because he wanted light. He kept the access band on his wrist, worn and honest, a reminder that progress was something you carried, not something you claimed. Vivian learned how to leave work before exhaustion disguised itself as discipline. She learned how to let silences exist without filling them with control. On weekends, they walked the city, sometimes talking, sometimes not, letting it show them how many ways there were to belong. They argued, they recalibrated, they listened, they didn't rush. Months later, on a quiet evening, Vivian cooked pasta while Noah set the table. Not ceremoniously, just plates and forks and a window cracked open to let the city in. This is nicer than candles, Noah said. Vivian smiled. Candles perform. This doesn't. They ate, shoulder to shoulder, comfortable in the absence of spectacle. After dinner, Vivian reached across the table and took his hand. Thank you, she said. For what? For staying, she replied. Not to prove anything, not to save me, just staying. Noah squeezed her hand. Thank you for asking me to. Outside, the city lights reflected off the bay, steady and patient, holding what was given without asking for more. They didn't talk about the dinner that started it all. They didn't need to, because what remained after the test was not a story to be retold. It was a life that had learned how to stand, and that, they both knew, was the rarest kind of ending, at last.